Hello, Jays Nation, and welcome back to the heartbeat of Blue Jays conversation, the Blue Jays Report. Today's story doesn't ease you in gently, it grabs you by the collar. Because in the quiet hours when most of us were sleeping, the Toronto Blue Jays universe began to rumble again. The kind of rumble that starts small, then grows into something you can feel in your chest. Roster tension, trade whispers, and injury news that lands like a punch to the gut. This is one of those moments where a season begins to define itself before a single meaningful pitch is thrown, and trust me, you're going to want to stay right here until the very end. Before we dive headfirst into the chaos, do me a quick favor. If you enjoy thoughtful, dramatic, and honest Blue Jays coverage, tap that like button, share this video with a fellow Jays fan, and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report so you never miss the story beneath the headlines. Now, picture the Blue Jays front office as a chessboard in the early morning light, pieces everywhere, strategy written in silence. After coming heartbreakingly close to glory last year, this team didn't nibble around the edges in the offseason. They went all in. Arms were acquired, money was spent, and suddenly the rotation looks less like a staff and more like a crowded courtroom, everyone arguing for the right to speak first. That's where the first shockwave arrives, because when you have too many capable pitchers, someone always becomes expendable, whether you like it or not. The name now echoing through trade discussions is Eric Lauer, a pitcher who quietly became a fan favorite by simply doing his job brilliantly. Reliable, composed, and unbothered by pressure, he felt like insurance you hoped you'd never need. But baseball is ruthless, and affordability combined with effectiveness makes a player dangerous in a very specific way. He becomes valuable to everyone else. With a modest salary and production that far exceeded expectations, Lauer is suddenly wearing a metaphorical price tag, and you can almost hear phones ringing across the league. The cruel irony is that the very depth Toronto built to protect itself may now force a decision that weakens it in another way. Hovering over all of this is the calm, unreadable presence of Ross Atkins. This is the kind of dilemma that defines executives. Do you sell high, trusting your depth to survive the grind? Or do you cling to insurance knowing how fragile pitchers can be? One awkward spring training session, one twinge in an elbow, and suddenly that depth becomes a lifeline rather than a luxury. Just when you think the situation can't get more complicated, the second act begins, and it centers on a name Blue Jays fans know all too well, José Berríos. For months, it felt inevitable that his future lived in the bullpen. Injuries, frustration, and the sting of being left off the World Series roster painted a clear picture. Or so we thought, because baseball loves a plot twist, and according to fresh insider whispers, Berríos isn't just healthy, he's hungry. Spring training now looms as a proving ground, not a formality, and suddenly the rotation is less settled than anyone assumed. If Berríos forces his way back into the starting five, the consequences ripple outward. Someone with a contract, a reputation, or a future gets displaced. The idea of a six-man rotation floats in the air like an unfinished sentence, tempting but complicated. And then there's the delicate handling of youth, the possibility of easing a top prospect's workload to preserve October dreams. It's a balancing act performed on a tightrope, with every decision scrutinized under a microscope. Before we move on, if you're enjoying this breakdown, remember to like and subscribe to the Blue Jays Report. It genuinely helps keep this conversation alive. Then comes the moment every fan dreads, the part of the story where optimism meets reality. Injury news doesn't knock politely, it barges in. The confirmation that Anthony Santander will miss significant time feels cruel, not just because of the timeline, but because of the hope attached to this season. Surgery, months of recovery, and another chapter added to a career in Toronto that has felt cursed by bad timing. You could almost hear the collective sigh across the fan base when the announcement dropped. And as if one blow wasn't enough, the loss of Bowen Francis for the year adds another crack to the foundation, while concern quietly builds around Shane Bieber. Forearm fatigue is the kind of phrase that trainers whisper and fans refresh social media obsessively. No one is panicking yet, but no one is relaxed either.
Depth is being tested before spring training has found its rhythm, and suddenly every earlier debate feels painfully relevant. This is the reality of baseball at the highest level. It's drama written in data, emotion wrapped in statistics. Trades loom, roles are questioned, and resilience becomes the currency that matters most. The 2026 season hasn't officially begun, but its tone is already set, and it's tense, unpredictable, and utterly compelling. So now I'll turn it over to you. Who steps up in the outfield with Santander sidelined? Does Berríos belong back in the rotation? And how worried are you about Bieber's arm this early in the year? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this story is better when we tell it together. Thank you as always for watching the Blue Jays Report. Like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay ready because with this team, the next twist is never far away.